up in a very musical household. My dad was like always in bands, and it kind of just like developed pretty naturally for me to like come into it. I got guitar lessons when I was at school, and then my dad taught me a little bit as well. And when I was probably like 13, he's released quite a lot of music actually. And I think I was just singing along with it, and he was like, that sounds really good. And then when I was 15, we started working on music together, and we got contacted by a label in America who were like, we should get an album going for you. And then we were like, oh God. And then it kind of became, because we were originally like performing together under his band, and then it kind of just spiraled into something that we thought I should just do, kind of. And then we worked together, kind of behind the scenes. But yeah, it's kind of developed into like a solo project-ish, yeah. There's like stuff that I always go back to, like Lana Del Rey is like something I always go back to. The Beatles, that was something my dad kind of like instilled in me when I was younger. And I quite like 90s grunge, and I like kind of always have. That was from my mum. I think it's always changing. I think recently I've gotten into more like R&B style music, and I think it definitely does like influence the way that I write. I kind of like Doja Cat at the moment. I'm into that, and also Loyal Corner. He just released a new album, which is really good. So yeah, that's something new, like R&B, hip hop kind of things new, but I always go back to like the same stuff, really. Question everything that you know. Well, I think my like introduction into like the music scene was very easy because I knew a lot of the people that worked in the industry in Aberdeen, just because of the contacts my dad has, because he runs his own label, Fitlight Records in Aberdeen. So he kind of, I do appreciate how easy it was for me to like kind of get into it, and obviously he knows a lot of promoters, but I wouldn't say that we were ever, or I was ever approached just because of the connections my dad has. I do think that like, I've been lucky enough to have been kind of like shown the ropes really, and put like that hard work in for people to actually like acknowledge like the music you're making. Aberdeen, what can I say about Aberdeen? I actually wrote a song about Aberdeen. It's not very positive, shall we say. I actually think sometimes like being in like a not very good situation, and I'm not like slagging off Aberdeen right now, but like when I wanted to kind of like move away and stuff, it is quite, there's always like a silver lining. And I think with like songwriting, I definitely took that feeling of kind of feeling trapped somewhere and like turned it into a song, or like into writing. I feel like I'm sounding so pretentious right now, but like I definitely do think in like a bad situation where you're feeling kind of trapped somewhere, if you've like grown up somewhere, it is a silver lining to be able to like express it in the form of like writing a song, or like writing in general. But yeah, I am like really appreciative of the way that like I was able to so easily like go into it with the help of like my dad. And also like he's been in bands a lot, and he knows like how to kind of get started as well. So I don't take that for granted. Yeah. You have set me free. Oh baby, come home. Yeah, it was quite cool. I mean, I feel like the way it happened, it was quite rushed. So I feel like I didn't really have like time to even like think about it or like process it. The second album was a lot more like, we took time to write it, we took time to produce it, and like figure out what we wanted. So I think like I probably in that respect felt a lot more like connected to it, and like that sounds so like pretentious, but I felt a lot more like proud when I was like releasing that one. I think that the first one, I mean, it was obviously so exciting. I was like, what's happening? But I think in regards to like feeling like connected to like the actual music, I think the second album probably was like more like, I don't know what the word is to like describe that, but yeah, I was very excited. I feel like every year I get more excited with like the prospect of the music, but yeah. The thing is as well, when I first started and when I was a lot younger, I kind of performed with my dad, and I feel like because of that, people kind of might have almost like saw it as like some type of like novelty act. Yeah, and I think as well, like, because I mean, from the perspective of a promoter, if you've got this like 14-year-old coming to play, they're like, oh well, you know, are they reliable or are they even going to be good? So yeah, I definitely think that there is a readiness to underestimate people for their age. Yeah. Give me your love, I can turn it into us. Yeah, and I think as well, even like, this is gonna get like maybe pretentious too, I don't know, but being like a woman is always as well kind of difficult, and I think like definitely I'm quite a stubborn person, so I think that like proving people wrong is like always something like that might be in the back of your mind. But yeah, I think probably more the fact that I'm a woman is probably impacted more on like me wanting to prove people wrong rather than my age. Even with like simple things like being addressed, like if I was with my dad, like my dad might be spoken to instead of me, even though like I'm the artist or the front person. And it's just, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's not even explicit most of the time. It's like comments here or there, or even like the way people might look at you. Or actually a good example might be like, if I wanted to use like a certain photo for the artwork, and it might be suggested I should use another one in that regard. I mean, I'm not saying that that happened for legal reasons, I can't speak about that, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely not something that's explicit, but it's something that is definitely like present. And I feel like, yeah, they definitely were very different. I think the reason for that is because I think I probably had quite a lot more input in like the production of the album and like the actual mixing and things like that. Whereas I think the first one, so basically the structure is that I write some songs, my dad might write some songs, and we co-write as well. And on this new album, I had a lot more writing, of my own writing on it, and instrumentation and input. I mean, from the first album, there's still definitely elements in there. Like, we use a lot of strings, which I'm always adamant on. I love having strings on songs. I just think it makes it a lot more atmospheric. But you can definitely still hear elements, but I think it is really important to like develop the sound. And I think going back to like what we were saying before with like having differing like music tastes, definitely like influences like the type of music you make. And I think it has changed a lot for me, but I think we've definitely kept a lot of like the core elements in there. Take my hand and I'll show you right. Not really, because I know that the way that the music is like set out is that the album always has quite a heavy instrumentation, whereas I know that that's probably not going to work out if we play live. So I think for me, I never actually really think about whether it's going to work live. I just want to make it like the best it can be. And I think with strings, it really adds like a new dynamic to it. And the people we work with is Pete Harvey at Pumpkin Field Studios. I totally trust like what he puts on it. He does all the, what's the word, like orchestration? I'm not sure like what the word would be, but like he does all the scores for it. And I very much trust what he does. And for me, it's just like make it the best it can be, and worry about the rest later, basically.
You change all the colors in my mind.
We've actually, for the last album, we recorded a lot of it at our house, like in regards to like vocals and like core, like guitar, like bass, basically all recorded like at our house. And obviously it was just me and my dad who live at my house, so it's like the two of us basically working together. But then what we'll do is we'll have like we'll record a demo, sit down and say like, what do we think might sound good on this? And then whatever we think, it'll basically get sent off to like whoever we think, and they'll put down a track, and then we'll kind of work from there. So yeah, I do think probably in terms of that, I work as a solo artist. Well, me and my dad work together. And then it kind of just like gets built up from there.
Try to keep myself.
Yeah, there is quite a big difference. I think what makes it, I think it's easier to collaborate with people when you're going to play live, because then you can actually be part of like, you can actually like be there and say, maybe you could do this, or maybe you shouldn't do this. And it's easier to kind of like not control, because I actually really like when I collaborate with people for them to put their own twist on things. So I think it just makes it quite interesting. But it's definitely a lot easier to like have control in that aspect. However, saying that, whenever I collaborate with people in the studio, I'll always say, this is kind of like the outline of like what I want. And whoever I'm asking to do it, I've chosen because I think they're really talented. And so I trust what they do. So I think both, honestly, I like to do both, but it's probably more fun to collaborate when you're playing live, I think, yeah.
I didn't care for what you said, and I didn't want to be in your head. I never told you to.
It was actually a very amazing experience. That happened the day before my birthday, my 19th birthday, and the day after me and my boyfriend broke up of like 2 years or whatever. So I don't know why I just told you that information, basically. But yeah, it was a really, really cool experience. Obviously, to like say you've played at Usher Hall, especially with So Far Sounds, which is a really cool organisation. The sound in there is so good, and I feel like when you go into a venue like that, the acoustics are amazing as is, and so I feel like I didn't even need to project that much. Like the sound just filled the hall. But I was actually like, the way it was set up was like, I don't know how to like explain this, but obviously you have the stage and then you have the auditorium where all the seats are. So this audience were actually sitting on the steps, which basically overlook the main body of seats. So I was filling the whole hall, but I was filling it to like this like really small section of people, so it was quite interesting, like the way it worked. But yeah, just, I mean, I played as well at His Majesty's Theatre in Aberdeen, supporting Richard Hawley. That was a few years ago, but it was like the same thing. Like I was worried about projecting, but like the sound honestly just carries through so well that you don't even need to like project your voice. But it was a really cool, it works very well with reverby vocals in that like setting. It was a very cool experience.
I never cared for what you said, and I didn't want to be in your head. I never told you to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing at the moment. A few demos are down. Nothing's been recorded in studio yet, just because of funding. I feel like before I underestimated how much it costs to produce like, or to write and produce like an album. So fingers crossed, funding comes in, but demos are in progress, and I hope we get a third album. I would really like that, but maybe a single or something later in the year, but I think we'll see. But I'm definitely keen being to do it.